Can you hear us, Mr. Ortiz? Give me a thumbs up.
Ortiz is going to take over for Jody from North Lakeland.
Oh,
Okay.
very good. Okay.
Okay?
Very good.
All right, thank you.
And we're still wondering about Mike Leahy. Sherry, I don't know where he's from. He's on here.
I'll figure it out. Don't worry. I have everybody else. Thank you.
Sherry,
Send
did
a
you put
chat
up?
message real quick to ask him.
Yes.
Sherry,
Greg, can you do that?
I'm sorry.
is the
Oh, Greg
agenda?
can send him a chat quick.
Yeah, I will. Are the meeting? Is
Yeah,
the
sure. I
meeting,
can do that.
is,
All right.
is
Okay.
is the meeting agenda on the USA website?
No, it's not. Just the minutes, and
Okay.
I have both up on my screen if you want to share the screen.
Yeah, let me give it over to you. Hold on. I will give it to you in a second. Huh. Okay. All right, hold on.
But the minutes are posted if it's easier to pull them up.
Yeah,
on
no, the minutes are, I'm looking, hold
I
on.
don't normally post the agenda. I send that out.
Right. And I know there's a way to, bless it.
Well, I'll go right down the agenda, though. Don't worry about that.
I've got it here. I just have to,
Yeah, but I mean, well, I'll just follow it. It doesn't need to be
all right.
posted. The only benefit that will be in the executive committee is knowing these guys will make it a little bit easier to see what's
Right.
up next. All right. How about those minutes? Have you got them?
The agenda or the minutes?
No, the minutes. We want to approve the minutes, last month's minutes.
Okay, those I can get. And it's opening up. Okay, hold on one second.
All right.
And let me share the screen. And there you go. Those are the minutes right there.
I'm not getting them, Greg. I do have something on the screen, but I don't have the minutes. How about everybody else?
Yeah, it's a gray bar basically in the middle of the screen.
Thank you.
Now you see the header of USA up.
We got a header, Greg, but nothing below it.
Hold on. Well, let's see. What I've got is I got this right here is the website, and I've got that.
That's better. Now just
Let me minimize that. How's that?
No.
So that should give you just the minutes now, right?
Well, you just need to click on the link, Greg. The
No,
January 13th.
I know. No, I've got the minutes right here. I'm looking at the minutes. Nobody,
Oh, okay, we can't see that.
nobody can see these minutes.
No.
No, we're seeing the USA, and then it says meeting minutes, and it shows 2015, 2016 minutes.
All right, hold on. What the heck? Okay. New share.
I'll try it myself. No.
How's that?
Well, no, I just clicked on it.
I got it.
If you guys click on, all right, I got it up. I just clicked on it and I got it up. Let's read them. Somebody want to make a motion to accept these minutes when you finish reading them?
Scroll down.
Yeah, I'm able to scroll down them.
Merritt, you can see what I'm doing on the screen?
Right.
Okay, good.
We've got you don't need the minutes for the executive committee till we get into that, Greg.
Okay, and this is what you got right here.
Perfect. Someone want to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I will.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Do we have anybody opposing? All right. The minutes have been approved, Greg. Let's keep moving. Are there any reports? Anybody have anything unusual out there? Mark, Brian's not in yet. Alan, Mike, we'll go over this change of calendar year, Alan and Mark.
Yes.
You guys quickly. It's still kind of uncertain, but we won't do that right this minute. Back to President's report. I've got nothing. We're just adjudicating all the time. There's really nothing. If you tune into these meetings, we'll get to everything on the executive committee that we need to. Greg, you can get rid of that. I'm seeing right now your desktop.
Right, and what I'm going to go to is, hold on.
Oh, great. Okay. Just see the financials.
Yes, that's what I'm doing right now.
Very good.
I hope this thing doesn't go crazy on me again. Okay, good. Here we go. Every so often, it wants to set send me a password for whatever. So it kind of, okay, here we go. This is up until this is from July 1st to February 10th, which is today.
All right, just leave it there for a second.
Okay.
So I got revenue at 134. That doesn't change much. Expenses, business 49, total business 58. All right. I think we're still in line. I think the only thing that I saw last time, and it probably will continue, is the administrative fees are probably, they're not higher than we're budgeted now, but they will be by the end of the year. And that really has to do with Linda leaving when she did. So we've incurred probably an extra 15% over and above our budget, with Sherry having tremendous amount of extra hours initially, and Greg kind of getting up to speed with his hours and stuff, so he wasn't efficient. Other than that, I do believe that if you check that against our, if you look at it against our budget, we're doing very well.
You what?
I think we'll be fine till the end of the year. I think we'll have the one place we're going to end up with an overrun is in the, and I would say it's going to be in the about 15% range on the administrative fees.
Yeah. And this is your balance sheet right here, Paul.
Yeah, so that actually is the 100,000 is still in our basically savings account, or it's in a money market, or I don't know what that is. Actually, it's a money market account. Have you been able to transfer everything ahead of time, Sherry and Greg, as far as getting money into the account, that's an active account?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're still in a real good position cash wise, which we're going to probably discuss next meeting as far as what some ideas of what we're going to do with it. Has anybody got any questions? At all, board members, that is.
No.
All right. I'll go through the red cards. Nagging problem. We were at it all the time, but we're trying to, we're trying to get everybody to get those red cards on the site, and that isn't happening. It's happening to a decent degree, but we still have ongoing issues where the either the coach is not following through with the referee as far as telling them, the ref, or pointing out to the ref that they've got a kid sitting so that we can get that taken care of, or the referee isn't posting it on the GOT soccer site, or in some more extreme cases where we've gone and tried to find the actual written report that the coaches have lost it and the referee, the one we sent, we couldn't read. So that's still a weak point, and no one's had to sit more games, I think, than they're supposed to, but it really is a weak point, and I don't know how, maybe before the AGM, somebody smarter than me can figure out how to make sure that we are getting the kids that are serving onto GOT soccer, basically. That's what we need. We can't even wait for the reports because that's a crazy, inefficient way to do it. So the red cards is still something that everybody's got to work at, and make doubly sure if you got a kid with a red card, you tell your coaches, you got him with a red card, you got to be aggressive and proactive to make sure that he is listed on that report and that the referee is entering it in GOT soccer, so that we in the center here have some proof that they're served, the red card's been served. All right, old business. We still have a lot of outstanding red cards, and that shouldn't be. In other words, I think a lot of them have been served, but we're still sitting on them right now, and it's a problem. It's a reporting difficulty, and we've got to get better at it, or we're gonna start having kids that are sitting and shouldn't be, and are served already and shouldn't be sitting. New business, this online format is still balky. We're not perfect at it, but we're getting all the information out to the clubs, and every month we get more members online, and hopefully it'll be less painful every time we do it. We're faster at it, getting this information up, and I'll get better at leading this as far as making sure that it's done in a more efficient manner. Joan Judd applications are online. I think we're fairly sure this year we're going to have to hold the line in our budgeted amount, mainly because of the administrative expenses, the extra ones we have incurred. And I think it's proper. I think we have a certain amount budgeted. We're going to stay with it. I think this year we're going to have the 5,000, and then we figure out from how many kids we get, how many we'll be able to get that $500. I think to my knowledge, we are the only entity that I know of that's been offering these scholarships for the last 20 years. So anybody that's unhappy with the amount of it or the way we're doing it, needs to figure out from somebody else how they're doing it, because no one else is even doing it. So it's we've done a good job at this point in getting these. But if your kids don't know about them, we can't do anything for it. We got to get them in there. We have got to, they've got to fill out these apps and get them in. I don't know how many we had last year, but we were in the 20s or 30s as far as that goes. All right. This age group change, now it's time. Is there anything else, Sherry, you want to say about the Joan Judd?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
That's fine.
I wasn't sure because I had sent that to everyone and I didn't get, one person replied that the app was okay. So I went ahead and I posted it.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I just didn't say anything. I figured it.
Yeah, I figured that it was fine. But the due date, just because we got it out got it up there a little later than normal, I put March 31st. It's usually March 15th, but is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine, because
Okay.
I don't know about George and those guys. I'm assuming they're in. If they're not, there's a committee, a kind of ex officio committee that's been doing that. I don't know if they still can. One of these years they're not going to be there anymore, and we're going to have to sort through them. So
So do you want me to reach out to them and ask? Because I haven't had any contact with them.
Yeah, would you? Because they won't automatically know to do it. George from Temple Terrace. And
I know.
And George has always been, Clytus has always been the kind of head of that. And they've done a great job, going through them. So we'll just reach out, make sure they're in tuned in and that we're going to get them by the 31st of March. And, you know, if they can take a look at them and as quickly as possible, we'd like that. That'd be great.
And also, I need to send out a blast to the clubs as well, but I didn't want to do that until I made sure that was okay with
No,
everyone.
that's, I thought it looked good. It's
Okay.
probably even more than necessary, but it's you know, it forces everyone to at least get some basic information to us, so we know that we're at least giving it to the you know, the best people we can. Although, you know, there aren't many we don't give it to, actually.
Hey, Paul,
Yes.
could we have Charlie and Mike Leahy identify themselves, please? Which clubs?
Mike did. He sent me a chat. I have that.
What? Okay, you're taking the minutes?
I am. Uh-huh.
Okay. What about Charlie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Charlie. Where are you from?
Suncoast Soccer in Sarasota.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for tuning in. The age group change. Here is where we're at now. This thing is going to be a real issue for everybody, because if FYSA and USYSA stays with this, and we are assuming at this point that this is going to come in Florida this year. So that's the 2016-2017 season. That'll be these tryouts that you will be conducting in in the end of May. The age group will change from what it is now, which is basically more or less school year, August 1st, to calendar year. Now, there's been a tremendous amount of kickback nationally as to why bother doing this, and there's a lot of there was just a lot of negative feedback about why they did it and how they did it. But I don't see at this point that FYSA is going to change anything. On the end of January, they had their meeting, and they basically said to us, we're going to start this calendar year instead of waiting a year. Actually, by USYSA standards, we could have waited a year. Our state program isn't going to do that. And if they don't do it soon, in other words, if they don't change it soon, it's going to be too late by the AGM or anything else. We're going to have tryouts. So if this doesn't change in a short period of time, in 30 days or so, we're going to be faced with it. And for us, it's going to take a lot from the board standpoint. For the clubs, it's going to be bad. For kids, I think, that are socially cohesive, I'm sure a lot of them will play up, and they'll figure out how to keep the team in some sort of socially acceptable form. But it really puts a strain, and I see the girls' program even more than the boys. Nobody can figure out why this is necessary, other than we want to get lined up with Europe, which probably 1/20th of 1% of the children in the United States are ever going to play against the European team, where the age matters. And we already have adjusted anything that's being played in the world or with the Europeans. Those teams are already calendar year teams. So we really, it's this whole change. Nobody can figure out why it's happening, and this is just typical, I think, of some of the issues you have as you move up the ladder in these organizations. So that we're going to be, because FYSA, you will have to register your teams they will take the registration only in the kids that are in these calendar years. So whether we would like to or not, we're not going to have a choice. The registrations are going to start to fall that way. Kids will be able to, and we have a list of the age groups. In other words, you're under 12s or under 14s or anything else, will have a specific year that they'll be in. The one exception, which was good, is it looks like the under 19 for 1 year, they will have a year and a half of eligibility. The age group will actually be a year and a half, so that those kids that are moving out don't get screwed out of that 6-month group of kids does not get screwed out of playing their their last year. So it looks like they've made that adjustment, which is good. Every other point of it is going to be upsetting. Not only that, our whole promotion relegation program is going to be questionable, and we're going to have to decide as a board what to do about it, because it will completely make all the teams topsy-turvy. So there's going to be very little uniformity from year class to year class now as to promotion relegation. It's going to be a real challenge to figure out. We'll have to institute some kind of reasonable method of putting teams in leagues next year where there's not 50% of the team left. And that's going to be every age group, guys. I don't know if anybody's really got that or understood it. So it's just got to get rid of those dogs. So anyway, that's the year. Do you have any questions about it, Alan? I know you and I had email back and forth.
Yeah, I was just seeing how FYSA was going to come down with it. But if they're going to go ahead and do it this year, then that answers my question.
That's right now, as of today, that's their official stance. Now, again, we've seen a lot of kickback at the national level as to why are you doing this. And one of the, Greg, was it a technical committee? I sent it to you guys, Alan. You might have gotten it. I tried to send it to everybody. It was kind of the technical committee saying we really didn't do this well. They didn't say they're going to change it, Alan. They just were noting that it wasn't rolled out very well or explained very well or even made any sense. But FYSA hasn't backed off. Until they do, we are as affiliates, we just are going to have to do what they do, basically, because that's how the registrations are going to be that way. So the teams are going to be that. They're going to be constituted as a year class team. Now, you can get kids that are younger, right? Always. That's not a problem.
Right.
It's something we have to be aware of at this point.
Hey, Paula, Smerid, isn't this just, it's really going to affect us for 1 year. Then after that, everything's back on track.
Correct.
Correct?
Well, Merritt, here's the other thing, not to get more complicated.
Well, I don't know.
Because the first year of high school now will be odd. Do you understand that, Merritt? When some kids will be left behind without playing, they won't be in high school. Some will, right? Because the kids that are in the first 6 months will be in the same grade as the kids that are in the, right? So you're going to have split high school ages, especially that first year in is going to be, there's going to be a number of kids who, are.
They're just going to sit. They're going to sit.
Yeah, they're going to have nothing, that it's not going to be a team because the kids, half of them are playing high school, the other half aren't, and they're not going to have enough to play. So, I mean, that's something that we'll have to see how that plays out. So after that, but that'll always be there, Merritt. That is that kind of issue at that age group is always going to be there. Whereas and because we have the winter season here in Florida, it's going to affect those kids, and it's there's no reason for that, but that doesn't matter. We don't have a choice. But you're right. I mean, it'll really have an impact this first year. The point of it was, Merritt, that there was no rhyme or reason to doing it.
Well,
we're not playing Europeans very often.
Well, U.S. Soccer did a lot of stuff this year, even in the referee community, that, was a big shakeup. But they said, yeah, we just have to bite the bullet. It'll hurt us this 1 year, but once it gets done, we'll move on. So, that's all I was saying. I know it'll be tough the first year. It's always, whenever you do make change.
I think the thing is, if you're trying to get kids the argument was, and we'll stop after this, is you're trying to encourage kids to play. You're doing everything you can to encourage these children to play and to become players. And then you're throwing his bowling ball down and breaking up all the pins, and there's no advantage on the other side. Once it's done, it's no better than the other system as far as age-wise, because what's the difference between August or the school year, basically, and a calendar year? It's only when you play internationally that has any bearing. And there are so few teams playing internationally, and they are already age grouped by they're already in the calendar year age groups. So there was no purpose for this merit. All this upset nationally is going to affect some kids. I mean, less are going to play than more. That's the only thing, and I agree with that. But it's not going to end. We're not going to end the worst. It's just a silly thing to add on when it really is. There's no benefit at all that anybody has pointed out to any of us for it. Certainly, I haven't seen anything from anybody that made any sense at all as to why you changed it. But that's okay. I mean, that's neither here nor there. Jeff has a question here that he chatted me. Are we going to have room to adjust on the girls' side as we only have 4 teams with gaps between? I don't understand that. Are you there, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm here. What I'm saying is we have like a 10, 11, 15, and 17. So for us, there are kids on the older team that are playing because there's such a gap in between.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm hoping there's some different plan with girls, because obviously there's a higher dropout rate with them, and they're harder to put better teams together.
That's why I said this will affect girls. Seem to have a more cohesive social structure also to play. Yeah. And it's going to affect them more, but there's absolutely nothing that either USYSA or FYSA has done any differently with girls or boys. This is boom everybody. And the only thing that you can say, Jeff, is that we may, what you may do is you're going to try and move 6 months of kids up, In other words, we're going to have a ton of kids, my guess would be playing up, so that team that moves ahead age-wise, that they're on it, they're just playing up a year. Now where you have gaps and you have girls already playing up 2 years, you might lose a few if FYSA won't approve over 2 years, because now you got to submit things to Strickler. If you're going to go past a certain amount of I think it's after a year now, even more than 1 year, 2 years even, you've got to apply to Strickler to even approve that. Because God Soccer won't take them. When you got to put them on the team, God Soccer won't take them. That's how they control it.
If anybody here is as old as I am, they'll remember when this was calendar year age grouping, and the age groups back then were not single age groups. They were all double. So you had under 10, under 12, under 14, under 16, under 20. And then when they went to the August 1st birthday, then they went to single age groups. So, it may be where we, from a league perspective, we may want to take a look at having a double age group where it's warranted. Yeah,
I mean, it's all that's in the air right now. It's suffice to say to all of the clubs that at this point in time, this is coming, and this is coming this year. It's the second we find out anything differently, we're in touch with the guys on the board there, especially the people that are making these decisions on the FYSA board. If there's any hesitation from USYSA to start starting it, or they're going to look at it again. That's the other thing is, don't forget, they are changing the size of the under 12 and under 10 fields and the amount of players on them too. That's another change that's gone on. Has a logic to it. I don't know if it's good or bad, but all of that we'll have that information out in front of you the second we know. We have that certainty. What they're waiting for right now on the kids, on the amount of kids and everything else on this 12 and 10 is the goal size. That still hasn't been determined. So we don't have a final package to really give anybody to say, here's what's going to happen. The amount of kids is going to increase by 1 on the field. We know that. The field size is going to be what they would advise you playing is going to be smaller. So again, you talk to people that actually do this, and it makes you wonder. But what we haven't seen is the goal size for these 4 age groups: 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s. So put on your seatbelts, because it's and we have absolutely no ability to affect this beyond writing emails and letters to people. So
Our club's already looked at it. We're going to kind of model the field size if we knew what that was, and also the team game size by just doing it in our spring program for now.
we'll get that. We actually have that information. I think, Greg, we've got that somewhere from USYSA. And we'll get that to you, or we'll get it on the site. What isn't done, to my knowledge, is the goal size.
Yeah.
So and the goal size will now determine the box, right? I mean, so everything without the goal size, you really don't have a complete. But we know the field dimensions. We have them, which are going to be suggested, and there is going to be an increase of 1 player.
When might we get that? Because we're planning next week to lay out our fields, and I was going to ask about that tonight. When might I get the size dimensions? Because with our spring program, we're going to start next week if possible.
Yeah, we've got Greg. I don't know. I've seen it, and I'll get it from Frank if we need it. It's been printed. I thought we reprinted it and sent it out also, and it was from USYSA. Sherry, I don't know if we have anything. Take a look, and Greg, and see if you have that, because it was in that packet I got in an email. What we didn't get is the goal sizes. That's why I know that's still lagging. But I'll talk to Frank this week, and if we don't have it somewhere, I'll get it, and I'll send it to Greg and Sherry. She can send it out to you guys, or we'll post it on the website, at least what we know right now. The reason you hate to post them in some ways, Jeff, is that if for some reason these guys can change their mind. I mean, they can wake up tomorrow and change their minds. They have no philosophic base for any of this. So we get that out on the website. Everybody redoes their fields, buys goals, and then in 6 months they said, well, we figured out we should really, it's too many kids in the field and it's too tight and not having a lot of success. Because when they changed this initially, if you remember, and I don't know how many years you guys go back, but if you remember when we changed this to make it less players and larger field, there was a book the size of War and Peace that was given to us, which was all of the data from all of the research they'd done as far as the amount of touches kids got. And I mean, it was astounding how much research they gave us when they went to the lower amount of kids on the field and the larger field. I don't know why that changed, but somebody somewhere changed it. Probably, So I don't know, and I'll ask if that has to pertain to us. We may be able to write our own rules on that. I don't know. If we can, we'll come right back to everybody and see what we got to do. I don't know if we're stuck with that, because they're not official. I mean, well, no, I guess it is. It's FYSA. All right. So that's it. That's all I've got. But the field size change, the amount of kids, 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s, and this momentous change in the age groups is all now, as far as we know, going to happen. I mean, it's everybody said wait and see what they do. The national meetings came. They were somewhere in January. They didn't change anything out of the national meeting. FYSA had their big meeting the end of the January. They didn't change anything. So that right now, what it's going to be, and we're the tail on the dog. I mean, we don't get to make up our own stuff. So it's now, if we can, for 8s, 9s, 10s, and 11s, or 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s, I'll find that out. I don't think you're going to have a lot of, we're going to have a lot of choice if we play under FYSA's auspices, which of course we have to, so. All right. For the good of the game, any members of the board have anything?
No.
All right, then I'm going to, somebody call adjourn the meeting and we'll go right into the executive committee in a minute or two. Are some of you guys waiting for the executive committee for different reasons? Okay. I mean, you're welcome to stay on. It's not a secret meeting or anything else. It's more boring than this is. So if you can, if we can get any worse than this, I don't know.
So we can go ahead and drop then?
Yes. In other words, you've effectively attended the meeting. So the executive committee isn't part of it. You're welcome to, and again, if you've got an issue in front of the board and you want to stay for that, then we'll be glad to have you. But the meeting's adjourned. If someone will mark, would you or somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Alan, would you second it?
I second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the meeting's adjourned. Everybody's, all you guys on the members out there have completed their obligation as far as the meeting goes.
Okay, take care, guys.
Yeah. Hey, thanks
Thank
for
you.
tuning in too. Hopefully we'll make this a little easier. I don't know how, but we'll either get somebody funny or very good looking to run the meeting, and it may help.
Thank you.
We only have Sherry right now, I guess, and somebody's in.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Well, we like it, Sherry. It looks, I mean, it's better than looking at Greg and I, you know.
Yeah.
Unless you're strange. All right. Let's get right in. Is there any reason why you guys don't want to get right into the executive committee meeting? Mike will be with us, so anything we got to do, we'll have a quorum, I think, by then if we need to, if we're in trouble vote-wise. Can you get the minutes, the executive committee meetings? That was the thing you scrolled down to, Greg.
Yep. Let me.
That generally has a lot more things in it. I know one while he's getting that, Mark.
Yeah.
We had a discussion about, you have a team down there that I guess, and I guess we'll get into this, so I shouldn't even do it, but didn't make the drive. They're under 11s. They closed the bridge. I don't know if you're aware of that whole drama.
I saw that, but I also saw where the bridge wasn't closed though too.
Yeah, but I don't know, in other words, if they are under the impression or thought that the bridge was closed, right, then, that's what we'll get into when we do it. But, you got 10-year-olds here. Now, I will say one thing. Driving all the way around from where you are.
It's a long way. I agree.
It's insane because you don't realize you got to come up and around and all the way back down into Camas County. It's got to be an hour and 45 minutes, a 2-hour ride that way.
Sure.
If I could just add something,
I don't think he wants to reschedule, though. Isn't that the problem now, Sherry?
well, I'm not sure about that. I
Okay,
just think there's
okay.
a little bit of hostility between the two at the moment. But
Yeah, I get that. But
specifically told me that. But another thing that I think added to the confusion that day is that the Seminole rec fields were closed, but then this was their other fields, rotary fields, and they were not closed.
well,
And so he was kind
well,
of.
Mark, you're aware of that. So when we get into it, let's go. I think Sherry's got a good string on it, or Greg. That was the most bizarre one, but let's get the approval. Can you get those minutes up there yet, Greg, or no?
How's that?
Fantastic. Now, just do you have to scroll or do we?
I do.
Okay. That's tonight. This is tonight's agenda. How about the minutes from last week?
Last week's minutes?
Yeah. We had them up there. You had the minutes from the regular meeting.
Yeah.
And the executive committee meeting is just below it.
Hold on. All right. Why won't it come up? Oh, wait a minute. I
I
know
won't
why.
even comment on that one.
Oh, I know why. Holy smokes. Here.
All right, look, no, that's still the first one.
That's what you wanted.
Just scroll
No.
down. It's at the bottom.
That's what you want right here.
No, what I'm looking at, I think, is tonight's, what do you call it, agenda.
No,
Right.
I got both of them up there. I got executive committee meeting adjourned at 8:40, meeting adjourned at 8:41.
Okay, I don't see that. What I have is a gray kind of pattern.
That's here.
Does anybody else see?
them?
There's like a screen lane over top of the actual notes.
Yeah, there you go. It's it looks like a whatever blocks it, Greg. This is a bunch of not horizontal, kind of 45-degree lines on a blue background.
I wonder why it's doing that. This is last. Okay, let me
If I
see.
knew, I'd be a lot smarter than I am, and I'm not that,
Well, I mean, it should only show. It should only show what I'm giving you.
Yeah. I'm getting nothing. I see the agenda underneath.
Hold on. Let me. Let's do this.
Do you think you can share the screen, Greg? Because I have them up. If that helps.
How's that?
Yeah, man, that's perfect. Scroll down. That's perfect.
Okay.
That's it. Just
There you
scroll
go.
down to the executive committee. Everybody read them. Anybody have please make a motion to accept those minutes?
I will.
And second? Somebody second it, please. Merritt?
Second.
Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. So minutes accepted from last week's executive committee meeting. All right. Let's start. Protest and appeals. Now, Sherry, I don't know why that's there. We had one, right?
You want the new one for the agenda, right?
Well, I can put the agenda, but yes, the agenda will help everybody. I have them printed out here, so I'm okay. But yes, we go back
It's
to that.
like a standard format, but that's why I left it blank, because we didn't have anything.
Okay, got you. Everybody, so C, we had the appeal, the protest hearing.
Yes.
For anybody that wasn't, I mean, a lot of us were there. You might all been there.
Has everybody got this now?
Yes, now that's good. That's good. That's fine.
All right.
It seems like I've got more than you do, though, Greg, under new business. I've got 1701, 1383, 986, and 456 that I don't see on this screen. Is there another screen that it laps over to?
Yeah,
Okay, great. All right, so push it back. We'll go down them in order. Minnesota, West Florida. West Florida was given the goal and given the win. I don't know. Does anybody want a reason? We decided it was unanimous that was the best outcome we could get of it at that point. No one felt that the goal should have been taken away in the first place, and we only had the referee's information to rely upon, which is a lot of these. I think, Merritt, are you still there? Merritt, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
In most cases, Merritt, it seems like where we only have, and correct me if I'm wrong, where we only have the referees, a written report from the referee, which does not jive with what other information we're getting, that unless there's some real incredible reason why we wouldn't do it, the referees, what would you call that? His description of the game has to stand. Am I correct? I mean, that right?
Correct. Yes.
Because
and of course, Greg did talk to him and confer that as well.
No, I'm saying in all cases, because there's probably 4 or 5 here that were in the same situation.
Right. So what's written is That's it.
I mean, that one was really topsy-turvy, and there were some real questions about it,
Yeah, well,
but we mashed them to death, and that's what we had. Old business. I don't know if anybody's got any old business. New business. All right, Sherry or Greg, can you keep coming with us and give us the information? 2424. What is that?
Okay, so this one was U13 Boys, Pinellas Park. I received an email on the Friday before the game, and he said, I've been trying to talk to Plant City about a game rescheduling and never was contacted back. So letting you know we will not be playing the game with them this weekend because we're at a tournament. But they didn't enter, an official forfeit form. They didn't pay the fine. And I believe I checked the chat, and there was, let me confirm that real quick. I don't think there was anything in the chat that they had talked to them. So I was thinking we needed to fine them.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, but.
Well, yeah, but that's, it's probably, makes a lot of sense. Let me just ask a couple questions, and then if you can't, so the Pinellas Park team, all on Friday night, the Friday before a Saturday game,
Yeah, 3 o'clock, I got the email. 3 o'clock.
announces that they're not going to show up for the match because it was rescheduled?
Because apparently they couldn't make the game, and because they were at a tournament.
Yeah, well, we know that doesn't hold water.
No.
So, but the point is, they never filed the appropriate form.
Well, they never really, if I'm correct, they never really rescheduled it with the other team or got approval from the other team to reschedule or anything.
Not that I could see, because there was nothing in the chat at all.
Well, if it's not in the chat, we can't write, and that's the official record.
Right. So I gave the forfeit to Plant City, but the point is they probably should be fined, and it should be the $250.
Yeah. Anybody agree or disagree?
I agree.
I agree.
All right. I don't see there's any. I mean, that's pretty cut and dry. Yes.
Yeah, I think so too, but I didn't want to just send them.
No, I mean, you gotta show up for the games. There are circumstances where we know we've had that you can't. Well, in fact, we're going to look at one, but I don't see that one. If it's not in the chat, Sherry, we don't have anything else. They didn't provide any email confirmation that they had told the other team. It doesn't matter, because if we don't change the game, it isn't changed. Correct?
Correct.
So I don't see how that's. So we're going to fine them. Is anybody opposed to fining them? Okay, so that's a fine. 2436.
Okay, this one. This is another one that, again, I found out after the fact. I got this email. Can you see my screen now?
No.
Okay,
No.
well, it doesn't matter.
You got control now.
Okay. Well, anyway, Saturday at 8:20 at night, I received an email. San Carlos Park did not show up for their game today. My son was the center ref and has entered a score as 3-0 win for Auburndale, and has notated that the other team did not show up for the game. So this one I didn't even find out about till after the fact. Again, they didn't file the appropriate paperwork. So this would be a $350 fine.
Well, that's why we have the fines. I mean, if you're just not going to come to a game, then you shouldn't be in a league in the first place. If you're not going to be able to show up for the games, that's the point of having a league and having rules.
Right.
So Sherry, the referee showed up and the other team was there?
Yes, I believe so. I'm going to pull the game report just to double check, but yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Fine them.
If there's no record of them even making the other team aware that they were not going to play, that is a fine. I mean, it's, they're going to pay the fine and they're not going to be in a league anymore. Because that's, I mean, right? Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm just confirming here. Yeah, he filed the game report and it said San Carlos Park did not show up for the game. So, yeah, I believe the other team did show up for this one.
Sherry, when we do this, do you have a record afterwards of all of these things so we can go back, let's say in the spring, and start looking at clubs that have had multiple fines and are not showing up for matches?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, well, particularly if they file the appropriate form, then we have that in our database of who forfeited and why and when. The ones like this, of course, is in our minutes, and I'm just trying to think. And I keep my own email folders of each meeting event, so I could retrieve it.
Well, the only reason I'm asking, so everyone knows, is that if you've got a club that's small and somewhat distant and doesn't seem to ever be in touch, or we don't know them, and I'm not saying St. Carlos is one of them, but they're a candidate, and we've got them not showing up for matches just willy-nilly, then they're the kind of guys that you start to think that are really, for us, a luxury that we can't afford,
Well, and they will always be the people that are always asking to move up to the next division too.
Yeah, but no, I agree, Merritt. I think that we've got to, and we are. I think everyone's got the same mind frame, mindset about it. Is we are going to start to know, as a group, that we've got some that we're getting some kind of. I'm getting terrible feedback. How about you guys?
Yep.
Yeah, me too.
Somebody's mic's open.
Les, whose mic's open?
No, it's not yours, Matt. Hey, Les, go ahead and mute your mic. Thank you.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So that's a fine. Is anybody opposed to that? And then, we'll look into these clubs if we have multiples, but especially when you've got, two teams and one of them has missed 2 games or 3, that, we've got to really start thinking they're not well managed, and it's really not fair to the rest of the people in the league. Not that this is one that will do that, but it's a candidate for sure.
Hey, Paul, I think we need to, this ought to be a list we keep.
Well, that's why I asked Sherry. There's no database for this.
Well, it's not that big a list. I've only saw $2,000 in fines, so that's like 10 teams maybe. Yeah. And
yeah, I agree.
I'm just saying, written down on a piece of paper on a notebook somewhere.
Yeah.
I think Sherry and Greg can go back through the fines for one thing, because they're the ones that haven't showed up for no reason. And it should be fairly simple to run them down and see if you've got multiple teams, or a team from a club that multiple times before they drop out.
And the other part is we use it at coach's time, or when we're setting up divisions and we find out, I'm serious. Then when they say they want something and you can show, well, let me look back here.
Well, yeah, if you're a risk for us, if you're not good for it, then, you're exactly right. I mean, I think yes.
I'm just looking to sometimes we got to keep a little information to keep things in track.
Well, that's why I asked that question, because it seems to me, I mean, we haven't had anything, we've had some clubs that have had multiple problems with fights and stuff, and we know who they are. I mean, we've been able to draw back. So it seems like somewhere we've got a record of all of this. And when things slow down a little bit, that's one of the things. Or Sherry can go back through and say, let's get that ready for April, and so we can take a look at it and see what, so we've got a database there or something, something like that.
Yeah, no, we do have a database. Like I said, if a form was done, and the other ones I can track backwards. That's not a big deal.
But it's really
I'm just thinking a notepad with names and.
Sure. Yeah.
But Sherry, it's really the ones that are like these ones that have incurred fines, because they're the ones. I mean, they haven't. Where you've got an argument that I called them and I was on there and I couldn't agree. That's one thing. where they just don't show up at all, and nobody knows that they're not showing up or showing up. They'll show up with a fine, so we'll be able to draw back on that and see what it was. You know.
Well, even a club that there's issues and hard to communicate with, that doesn't do well for everybody either. So.
No, but hopefully this thing will improve. I mean, I know everybody's not dying to get on here, but it's only an hour a month, maybe an hour and a half. Or if we get through this, we might actually make an hour and a half. Is that it? Was that 8? That's not 877, was it, Sherry?
No.
So there's a fine there. Anybody have a problem with that? All right. 877.
Okay, this was the Friday night fiasco. So this was Oldsmar and Brooksville, and I received an email about, well, initially it started about 10 o'clock, I guess, at night. Well, no, I'm sorry. He sent the original email around 6, that he had been contacted by Brooksville that they weren't showing up, so did he need to show up? And I
got you. Okay.
Right, and I responded and I said, well, they haven't filed an official forfeit, so technically, probably, yes, you should show up. Well, then in the meantime, I copied the other club, and he wrote back, and he was very upset that we would consider fining him, and I'll try to summarize, he just said that unforeseen issue, that, let's see, he was only going to have 8 players. 3 had the ACT test, 4 are sick, and 1 had to go out of town. 2 of the 8 play softball, and he went on and on about this stuff. We tried to do everything right. After our call, we heard from Oldsmar, and as I said, had we not called, we would have shown up. But with our call, we were informed that extreme procedures were taken by canceling the refs. We don't mind the forfeit, but the cancellation fee should not be warranted under these circumstances. So then he got upset, and the guy that was saying he was not going to come, and he said he would show up at the field so he wouldn't get fined. And then, Paul, you and I kind of talked a little bit on email and said, well, that makes no sense. If we've already canceled the refs, why would both teams show up if they're not going to play?
Yeah.
Right.
For me. Now, that's not the board because it's just one. There are people that think that they all both ought to go there. For me, if there is a certainty that the other team is not going to be there, they're not kidding around, they're not trying to play a game and then show up and say, well, we were there. Where they're not going to show up, and we are certain of that. For us to force people to go on the road and move all of these kids and everything, now maybe at home so they're not driving, but the point is, it's asinine, in my opinion, and it's illogical to tell somebody after the other team has, for certain, said they're not going to show up, to make them go down there just to check in.
Right.
I know everybody doesn't feel that way, but I do. I don't know. Anybody else want to wade in on that? So when someone says that to us, we told them, look, you're right. Stay home. No good is going to have done. We know that Brooksville's not coming. Now, Brooksville, I would say, they need to be fined. I know the guy thinks he has a lot of reasons why he's not doing it. Then he shouldn't be in the league. If they're that thin,
yep,
and they're on the edge like that, and can't provide a team every week to play, they should not have joined the league. They should have done something else.
What age group is this?
It's got to be 13s or 14s, right? It's junior. Is it senior season or junior?
Is it senior?
U19. Girls.
Yeah, so it's
taking the ACT test. They were taking the ACT test.
Yeah, but Merritt, if they're playing now, if they're scheduled for this time of the year, that means they took the original schedule and moved it. They moved it to this. They mutually agreed to show up on this date.
And then they didn't figure it out. Yeah,
that's correct.
The last minute.
So
we tell them every year, check the SATs. Here's the ACTs. Here's when they have it. Check for softball games. Check for somebody's Mickey Mouse's birthday and the lunar Chinese New Year, and
going back real quick to
your
comment about both teams showing up. if one team is willing, and like this Brooksville sounded like it, they're willing to take the hit, because they don't have the full team, and yeah, he's agreed to the forfeit, and he's actually agreed to the fine. And then the other team doesn't have to show up. If they
Okay, that's all I'm saying. I agree with that.
Right, but initially, when it all started, I hadn't heard anything from Brooksville, so I didn't know that they were going to agree to the forfeit, and he's actually not agreeing to the fine. So that was the only reason I told him he probably didn't go.
I guess in that, all I could say, and if anybody else wants to wade in, you don't get to agree to the fine or not. We're not fining people because we're happy or we want to get fines or anything else. The fining system's there to make it painful to not show up to play a match. If you don't have the players, don't get in the league. And you won't ever get fined.
Real quick, the first two that we talked about, what age groups were they?
Sherry?
I'm going to have to look. Give me just a minute.
The first one was under 13s, Alan.
Okay.
2436. Give me 1 second.
I'm making my notes so I can approve the minutes,
U13 was 2436.
Okay, so both of them junior season. Okay. All right.
877 now we've done. We're going to find Brooksville.
Yes.
Does anybody disagree with that?
Yeah, I make a motion we fine them.
Yeah, well, we're good.
So 250 because we heard from them on Friday.
Yeah.
They set that game date, right?
Yeah, they had to have, Merritt.
Yeah, they had to.
They had to. They didn't set it. They reset it. We had one already.
Right.
But
that's on him.
I understand the guy, and he's absolutely right. He got, he couldn't raise the girls. I understand that. Well, then your club's got to stand up and pay for you to do that, or not be in the league, or don't join the league. And it'll sooner or later, I think, it will tell the clubs, hey, we can't afford to have these shaky teams, man. It cost us $700 last year, and that's how this works. It's punitive. Unfortunately. But it's not fair to the other teams. We know that. So how about 552?
Okay, hold on. Let me get back there. Let's see.
And Sherry, I know I've seen all of these. I don't know if everyone gets all of the emails, but I see most of them coming in, so I've seen them.
Well, last night I forwarded some relevant ones, so they could read the lengthy things to read ahead. Okay, this was again just another no-show. This one was not, I never knew about this one at all before. I just was reviewing game reports and I noted that this game was a no-show. Forfeit. So again, I think it was FC Tampa Lady Rangers U15 Girls Premier against Sarasota United. And
who didn't show up?
I believe Sarasota didn't show up. So
what age group?
U15 girls.
So this again is a reschedule.
Yeah.
Well, it's a no-show, so that would be a forfeit, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying if there were 15s, that meant they were scheduled in the senior season.
Right.
And agreed to both agreed to play on this date because this isn't scheduled for them, which we have our own little problem with, which I'll go into at the end.
Oh, okay. Actually, I'm reading the game report here.
Okay.
And this one, the game was scheduled at 2 o'clock. And he writes in here, visiting team was not present till 2:15. Home team was present and checked in. Game is forfeited. So this one, I guess they just arrived late.
The referee forfeited it.
Yes.
Barry, what about that? I guess the referee has a right in 15 minutes to cancel the game.
I don't know. What's our bylaws say? We should have something in there how long they have to wait.
15 minutes. I think it's actually 10, is it not, Greg?
No, I seem to remember 15 minutes is what I've seen before.
Yeah. But you know, with the ref, who is the ref, Sherry? Does it? Can you?
Burke Gumas.
All right,
Gumas.
I know Burke. Well, Greg, are you there? You know Burke, right?
Yep.
I know him. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if in my opinion, we can ask him, but this is his call, not ours. If he canceled, if he forfeited, if they were getting out of their cars or warming up.
15 minutes. Come on.
Well, that's if he says it's 15 minutes, the game is now canceled. The game is now forfeited. If they're getting out of their cars and he's doing that, that's one thing. If they weren't there at that point and he's saying it's 15 minutes, I don't have any expectation they're going to be here. You know what I'm saying, Merritt? If they're not around, if he's got knowledge that they're on the way in. But once
how'd they write that up? How did he write it?
All he said here was visiting team was not present till 2:15 p.m. Home team was present and checked in. Game is forfeited. And on the game card, which is how I picked it up, it just said no show. So I
couldn't agree with finding him A. I'm not so sure I even like it, and we can, one of us will see Burke and ask him, because it just, I know Burke. I mean, he's can be temperamental at times. I guess that's the right word. But
if they show up at 2:15, we're playing the game. I'm upset.
But not by our bylaws, Merritt.
Does it say they got to be checked in by 2:15, or do they got to be there? They just got to be there.
Well, we're gonna have to look. In other words, this game has already been canceled. I guess we can talk about a reschedule, but the referee has already forfeited the match, so we're already behind it. Now, do we fine him or not? It's the first question.
I wouldn't fine him just because.
No, I'm not fining nobody.
Okay.
Because I'm the referee, I'm going to have the game.
Right. Well, that's what I would suspect also. I'm surprised to hear that he did that.
I'm wondering if he got his money from the other team. That's what. Or is that the one he's complaining about? We had to pay?
No. He was short paid on a game at Greg, where was that? Tampa Bay.
TBU.
TBU. And Greg got to the TBU people, and they apologized and said the coach doesn't know what he's doing. We'll take care of it. So that was taken care of. But no, I don't.
Yeah,
but it's the same referee. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that game with TBU, what happened was, let me make sure that he didn't have the referee's fees.
Well, yeah, I remember that. I'm not worried about that, but I'm just getting. So here we got another incident with the same referee.
Well, the one he wasn't paid.
One was just money.
That's not anything on him.
And he's all about the money. I'll be honest with you.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, Merritt, I'm surprised at him. But we don't know. I would like to know the exact circumstances, because if they're coming out of their cars and he says it's 2:15, I'm leaving. I'm paid now. I don't like that.
I got a problem.
I've got to ask. It's Vars probably has him. He ends up doing a lot of games in this area because I think he lives over this way somewhere.
What club is this, Greg? I can't see this.
It was at FC Tampa Lutz. It was at Mike's complex.
You can see what I got up?
Yeah.
Yeah, now I can. FC, really. Where's that at? That's up in
Lutz.
Oscar Cooler.
Oscar Cooler.
That's out in the middle. He needs to move in town somewhere where they have sunshine.
No, but he does. I see him at Schimberg, and I see him around. So he lives somewhere on this side of town, north of the airport, and, kind of north and west of the airport.
Yeah, but Sarasota goes all the way up there.
I know. I'm perplexed by this, and I think we've got to go back to Burke and ask him exactly what the circumstances were. Now, Mike gets on. He might have more insight when he gets in, and I'll ask him about this, because this is kind of I don't know, this is not, if they're coming out of their cars and he calls a game because he doesn't feel like
Yeah.
he's got his money, that's not
That's
good.
bad.
And then we need to examine the bylaws to see exactly. I think 15 minutes is it, though. I'd have to get them on and take a look at them. But I know we do have a time limit, Merritt, and to some degree, that's got to be it's up to the ref. Because I've had refs where people have called and they said they're going to be 10 minutes late. The ref was fine with it. He waited and the game got in. So,
I mean, Sarasota to Lutz, that's a long way.
no, and I don't think it's good customer service. But again, if at 2:15 he doesn't know, right? Here's the other part of that. If no one said they're on their way, and he sees no sign of them, and it's 2:15,
Right.
he doesn't sit there and wait till 2:30 and hope they're going to show. At 2:15, there's no show. They're not there. Goodbye.
Yeah,
But if you see them pulling into the parking lot and but I can't imagine if he saw them pulling in the parking lot. We'll find out though. I'll find out because this is us. Either Mike will know, his coach will know, and I can't believe they didn't want to play his guys, Mike's guys.
Yeah.
Didn't say, hey, Burke, you got your money. How about
He might have wanted to play, and he took off. So.
Yeah, but again, if he didn't see anybody, so we'll find that out. No fine. The forfeit's going to stand. You can't reverse the forfeit. I mean, no matter who the ref is, once he has said it's 15 minutes, that's the rules you have. I don't think, unless you want to. You guys want to. I'm fine with whatever you want to.
What do you want, 15 minutes?
He says it's 15 minutes. That's your rules. All he said 15 minutes.
Maybe we need to clarify it more.
Well, that's what I'm saying about our bylaws. Let's take a look.
Well, if the team's there in 15 or 20 minutes, and then they have time to get checked in, which should only take a minute or two.
Yeah, I can't see any ref. Like I said, if the kids are getting out of the car, it's 2:15, and he just says, "Nope, that's it. It's too late," walks away.
Well,
I can imagine. I mean, Burke could do it.
I can
imagine he's even that persnickety, that he'll.
Well, I know on Sundays we always have a lot of trouble with adults, and those guys, they always show up late, and.
Well, the one thing, I guess, again, that we control how much Burke works. Now, he doesn't have to work for us, and Jim, but we could, at some point, if we have this problem with a referee.
Paul, excuse me. I found the rule, and the rule says, any team delaying the start of a scheduled game by more than 15 minutes, unless a postponement has been effected by USA, shall forfeit the game to the opponent by the score of 3-0. Unless the delay was due to circumstances beyond the control of the team.
That's kickoff in 15 minutes, not coming in the parking lot in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think we need to have that. We need to redefine that.
Yeah, I think so too. Because again, I would never let circumstances beyond our control. Because every circumstance is beyond our control if we're late. You say, well, we hung out at the end of the street for 15 minutes. It's always going to be something. There's got to be a cutoff. There's got to be a time cutoff that you say it's 15 minutes, they're not here. And maybe make it evident or physically present in the.
If they don't have they don't have to be checked in, but we need to reword that.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Let's put that on, Sherry, let's put that for business meeting. We'll table that. We need to.
But for sure on this thing, no fine, and we'll check in with Burke or with the U15 coach, and maybe even a Greg. You might want to get to the Sarasota guy just to say, geez, we saw this and it was a bit unusual. We didn't fine you. All we have is the referee's rendition of this. We don't have Sarasota's to say, hey, we were there and the guy didn't want to play. I'm not going to like to hear that, but I mean, we should check into this though, Sherry and Greg, if you guys will make a note, and we'll
Okay.
do a little more work to find out what this is, because that is a long way to go. If they're getting out of the cars and it's 15 minutes.
And the other part of it is getting to Oscar Cooler is a lot of back road stuff.
Well,
And there's no,
from Sarasota, it's a straight shot up to Veterans, and then you just get off at Del Mabry and make your next right.
I mean, Oscar Cooler isn't like, Kabul or, Istanbul or something. It's
I know it's just one block south of there. That's all.
South of there.
All right, next. All right, so no fine. And I don't think we can help it right now. It's a forfeit. Is that 2997 or was that 552, Sharon?
That was 552.
Okay, no fine.
Okay.
2997.
This is,
You're going to hold off on the forfeit?
No.
No.
Okay, so it is a
I mean,
forfeit.
I don't know. It's up to the board. I can't see how you can't.
No.
Because you're going to have to get, the referee has already defined it for us.
Yeah.
If because they weren't there and they say we were there, we're not going to, I mean, the referee has already awarded, like, what we do want to find out is from people that were present, did Bert, say, hey, they're not here, I'm running off because I got my money. If that's
The other part too is it's in our bylaws,
Yeah, no, he's following our bylaws, and also he's the judge of this. I mean, he's the only guy that can actually call it and say it's 15 minutes, I'm forfeiting the match, period.
We just need to clarify it better.
I think so, as far as definitionally. All right, 2997.
this is the one about the Skyway Bridge being closed.
Yeah, does everyone read this one? I mean, this is a difficult thing here because.
Well, it's like two totally different sides of the story.
Yeah.
And I spoke with the guy from not the home team, the away team, that didn't want to drive. And when he called me, that was the day that the weather was terrible.
I remember.
And my phone started ringing at 6:30 in the morning about the Skyway being closed and, what was going on, etc. And this guy was he was very polite and I never got the feeling that he was trying to get out of the game. He just wanted to know, should he start driving there or not? And then he called me back like 10 minutes later after he got a hold of the coach. And he said that, their fields were open, that the guy was very rude to him, was not willing to reschedule because of the bridge being closed, and that he and his team decided that they were not going to drive there due to the weather situation. But then when you hear the story from the home team, they're saying that guy was rude, and I don't know. I didn't get that, but I didn't speak to the home team. So, I'm only getting one side of the story.
Well, where it concerns children's safety, I mean, that is from Braden River to pass the, and you do have to drive past Braden River is south of the bridge, to then go 75 all the way to 4 and around through the airport and back. That's the only way you can get there.
Wrong.
It's the only way you can get there.
No, you can go 41.
41, how do you cross the bay?
You go up US 41 and it stays on the Tampa side of the road.
No, but 41 eventually runs right into the bridge there, right below the bridge. 41 is the first exit.
You got US 19 and you got US 41 and US
Right. But when 41 hits, if the bridge is closed, they all run into the bridge. The bridge is the only way over that body of water.
You can go north on 41.
It's the only way over the bay. The only other way is to go the next bridge from
Go to
that
Gandy.
bridge.
You go to Gandy.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the airport, Gandy, it's all the same. The Gandy's worse, I mean, because there's no interstate to it. You gotta go, what do you call it? But it is at least 60 miles out of the way. Maybe more, that's both ways. Now, you got 10-year-old kids, you have the time of the day, they would have to be knowing that they were going to drive that far. We have already not gone to C1 because of the drive. I mean, you've got the weather that day. All of those things for 10-year-old kids seems to be logical that if the bridge were in fact closed, or even if you thought the bridge was closed, that you're going to reschedule that match. I think, but just me. Whatever you guys decide is fine by me. It just seems like what's reasonable is if he thought the bridge was closed, the bridge is closed, whatever it is. The thought of going around, and getting to the match and then getting back, for 10-year-old kids to play a 35-minute game is not logical. And that is something that is, force majeure, something, unanticipated. That seems to be a really good excuse for me because, again, you're putting kids on the road for another hour and a half or 2 hours, and it doesn't a 10-year-old kid.
But didn't Kai say that his brother coaches the team and they had the same game and they were I think this is actually a Chargers game, not Braden River.
Well, it was Oldsmar, he said. Now, that's a different Mark, that's coming from I think that's Mark.
Yeah, that's me.
I did say that, but he mentioned Oldsmar for some reason. Now, let me get that back up. I was trying to find that.
No, it was Chargers Lakewood Ranch against Seminole Santos SYAA.
And he said his brother went across the bridge. There was no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, and again, that's not for I don't know, If
I talked to this guy it started sooner, but the final phone call was about 10 o'clock in the morning. His game was at 2:30. I think what I figured out was that the bridge opened around noon, but he had already made the decision at 10, or thinking that the bridge was closed, that he wasn't going to go.
See, that's my whole deal. This guy made that decision way early.
I don't know about that because if you have people who plan to go, Mary, you're down in Lakewood, right? Lakewood Ranch. You're going to leave at what time? 11?
It's a 2 o'clock game.
You're going to leave at 11, maybe 12. It's got to be an hour and 15 minutes if you can use the bridge, right? Into Seminole. Got to be an hour and 15 minutes from Lakewood Ranch or close to that. So you want to be there an hour early, so 1. So you're going to leave at noon. Everybody that is ready, and they're going to meet at noon, right?
Yeah.
So you go down at noon, and you say the bridge is closed, so we're never going to get there to the game on time. It's from a planning standpoint. 10 o'clock's the time to make the call. To tell people don't show up at noon because you might not get them at 10. I mean, all that. Think about if you're the coach and he's going to have to now figure out to get in touch with everybody and tell them we got to leave another hour and a half early because we're going to have to go all the way around wherever.
So,
but I thought in one of those rebuttals, and again, I'm not sure which the two teams are, but I thought it said that the coach had called the highway patrol and that bridge was never closed.
That was the home team said that.
Right, which I don't know. In other words, right now, Mark, we can go chase that and find out if the bridge is open or closed. We know that he assumed that the bridge was closed.
And I pulled
Jerry checked and said it was closed.
And it said it was closed. And I had several other games canceled because it was closed. So unless all those people were making that up.
Well, that's a different story then.
Yeah, and not only that,
it was closed.
If the guy has made a reasonable attempt to say, I can't get to the game because the parents, we're meeting at noon. I can't get to all of them and tell them to all of a sudden meet at 11 because they're all over God's creation. I will never see them until I will see them first at noon when we were supposed to leave. At that point, it's senseless to go. So you yourself say cancel it, get to everybody you can, and I'll go down there at noon and tell the others who haven't heard from us that we're not going to go today. Now that seems reasonable to me. I don't know if it's 100% right, but it's awful reasonable for an under 11 game, 10-year-old kids, and it's a reasonable decision. And for me, not for anybody else. I couldn't fault the guy for making that decision. I think it's reasonable, and that's what we're here to do, is to try and suss out what's reasonable and not reasonable. That's all.
Well, I think if the bridge was actually closed and Sherry said it was closed, the guy reached out to Sherry. I think he did what he possibly could.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So we're going to ask them to reschedule this. Does everyone agree to that, or do you want to give them a forfeit?
I mean, I think the home team thinks he deserves a forfeit, and he thinks that the Chargers should have to pay the refs because he paid the refs, he said. And actually,
I think that's correct, though.
Yeah, and I think that the Chargers guy said he would pay the refs. I don't think he had a problem with that. That was just a verbal conversation. I don't have that in writing, but I think I remember that.
Yeah, I don't mind him, Maria. I think that's probably fair, even though it's not fair because it's an act of God that the bridge is closed. And I don't know how much more tightly you can manage something and still get to a match when you got, like I said, 10-year-old kids. So,
I mean, I have to be honest. If I'm coming from Braden River and the bridge is closed, and I've got to contact all the parents and tell them we have to go this way, we probably would do the same thing. I would probably call Sherry and go, Sherry, I can't make it.
Yeah, I think especially more, given that the game's 35 minutes long.
Right.
Even worse. You're right.
Well,
I agree.
But I think the guy from Seminole doesn't have the right to make up and say, hey, I'm not going to reschedule it. We're going to ask them to reschedule it. If he doesn't want to do it, we'll take it up at that point. Let's hope they can reschedule it because they've had a lot of stuff happen. But let's ask them to reschedule that one.
But have the Chargers reimburse the 100 or whatever the fee was.
Even though if you think about it, that's not even right because, again, it wasn't their fault the bridge was closed. It was what happens when it rains when the refs show up? And
I'll speak for Kai here, and I'll speak for myself here. You know, there was another team that came out of North Pinellas County, and they made their way down there. That's what he was talking about, Oldsmar. They had a game, and they made their way down there. And then same age group, but they were going south instead of coming north. And so I'm,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's if you read Kai's thing, if they were leaving from Oldsmar is a totally different perspective than Braden River. Because Oldsmar doesn't need, first of all, Oldsmar doesn't make any sense because they don't need to use the bridge to get into Pinellas County.
No, Oldsmar went south.
Oh, down to Braden River. Yeah, but what time? Maybe they didn't know the bridge wasn't closed, right? And just went, and it was afternoon, the bridge was open. You know what I'm saying? We don't know the assumption that the guy left, and by the time he got to the bridge, he didn't even know it had been closed. Had it been closed, he wouldn't have made that game either, Merritt. Correct? He would have been. He would have been a down
under nine Oldsmar girls traveled to Braden River.
Right.
They realized when the team realized the bridge was closed. They took the Gandy and the Howard Franklin. They still played the game. They were a little bit late. So we got one team that can make it to Braden River, but the Braden River can't make it north.
Well, I commend the under nines again for getting there. I think that is. I don't know how they were able to change the time of their leaving to go. Well, they were late. They were late. So if Bert Gummis was there, they would have canceled the game, forfeited.
Well, you're just giving this guy a blank check, and I think there's something there. To be honest with you, so either he reschedules. So I'm with Kai on this. That hey, some people are going north and south. And you just kind of figure it out. And guess what? That Skyway Bridge wasn't the only bridge there. They had, the other one got knocked over by a boat, and they had to get her over that water somehow. So.
Right, but they didn't know that the morning they woke up. My point is, Merritt, the morning they woke up, they didn't know the bridge was closed. He checked, the bridge is closed. He's got a 2:00 game. He's figuring, well, no one, my team is supposed to meet at noon. My 10-year-old is supposed to meet at noon. There's no way I'm going to make it all the way around to get to that. The guys from Oldsmar, we don't know their mindset. They may have just left and not known the bridge was open or closed. No, they found it was closed and just kept going down there and started out an hour and a half early. But I think that
so they were better planners.
Require somebody to go around, all the way around to the other bridges from down here is not reasonable. Because somebody did it, I think that's wonderful. But had Oldsmar said the same thing, I would have felt the same way. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I'm sure you are.
For me.
Okay.
I mean, that's
my vote.
I'm not even a vote. I'm one vote. So let's vote. How many vote to reschedule?
So what's the motion?
The motion is to reschedule.
Okay. All right. What if they don't reschedule? I don't know.
Then we deal with whoever doesn't want to reschedule it, and they'll get a forfeit.
All right.
Right? They got to play the same place. They got to play the same. They got to come over the bridge and play the match. If Braden River doesn't want to do it, they get a forfeit. If the other guys don't want to do that, they get a forfeit. Because they still rightfully have to reschedule this game. It's like a rain out. It's no different. I mean, this is just a rain out. That's all this is, Merritt. It's just an unusual circumstance with the bridge, but it's really no more than an early morning rain out. Right? In my view of 10-year-olds trying to get the matches. And we don't set any, I don't think we set a precedent. I mean, how often does that happen? It's a, and there's one other team we can cite in the whole thing that didn't do it. Some other teams, if that bridge is closed, cancel the game.
All right, well, reschedule then.
Reschedule.
All
right.
And tell the Chargers to reimburse.
Yeah. I don't think that's fair either. I'm going to tell you the truth. but somebody's got to pay.
Or could you just tell them to pay the ref fees on the reschedule? Or,
yes.
Because then they each paid the ref fees? I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so they have to pay this time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's not fair. It doesn't matter. That's why Solomon wanted to cut the kid in half. It wasn't fair either. But it got someone to fess up. All right, what are we, 1865?
Okay, give me 1 second. I have to see what
under 11.
Oh, we got a ton of these things. Let's keep moving.
I know.
Okay, this
1865.
one, this is the one that we received the complaint from Coco, FC Tampa.
I got it. I sent an email to Mike. I met with those people. They're under 11. The coach got run. I told them, Coco, myself, and Mario Martinez met with the team mom and the coaches. And basically what we told them was, if that was emotionally too much, and they might have been calling them Hispanics. I mean, who knows what's said, because we have a lot of Hispanic kids on the team, but there's a lot of Hispanics everywhere that play soccer. They and people call each other all kinds of horrible names. But the fact is that this was Brandon. The fact is that I said, if emotionally you can't take that kind of thing and think that the ref was unfair and can't handle that, you guys need to get out of this right now and find another sport, because it's not going to change, and you're going to be faced with this at times, not all the time, but at times you're going to be faced with this. If you're that high strung or feel that you can't do this, the best thing for you guys would be to get away from the game right now, because these things are going to happen. So This is a team of kids who are the parents, and the kids are in the first couple of years of playing, and they're all very sensitive. The second thing is, you know, the things they're complaining about there are, as we know, when we see it, or we did, he wasn't fair, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Now, the only thing about this merit is, that's weird, is the referee completely missed the coach that he ran, the coach that he gave one game to. He wasn't there. The guy that he said that he ran off was not at the match. It was the assistant coach. Now, we squared that away. We had the assistant sit out, okay? So he sat. We punished him. But the only thing you got to say about the ref is, geez, you wish you'd gotten and I looked at the player passes for both coaches. They are clearly pictures of both of them. They weren't of Ricardo Montalban or somebody else. And it would have been very difficult to mix the two of them up from the pictures, believe me. So the ref wasn't.
So, whoa. Oh, so you're passes afterwards.
The ref ran the coach who wasn't there.
Well, okay, I know, but but you weren't there to look at the coaches' passes at the time of the game and all.
No, but I looked at
at their meeting.
They're online. I was able to look at them that evening straight away.
Oh, okay. Well, online is not what's in hand. I'm telling you.
But those pictures, I looked at the pictures. They are both the proper coaches with the proper name. And there's no doubt when you hold the picture up that the guy that got the card, or the guy that got the one-game suspension, did not have the last name, or was not the right picture for the referee. Now, I don't know why, but that's the only unfortunate thing. I don't think you can do anything about it. You just wish that wasn't the case, because it weakens your argument about the center being on top of the whole event. But this is, if people acted anywhere close to what the ref wrote up, and he wrote it up, and he was quite explicit, that's not the type of behavior we can have for anybody in the league doing. So they're wrong.
For a man,
they have no right to complain, except for the fact that they know that the referee their thing is the guy didn't even get the names right, and didn't even bother to get the guy's name right. Now, maybe with all this hubbub, he just picked one of them out because they were already gone and there was so much going on. That's very possible.
I think that's what he said. He responded, and it was.
Yeah. So, but we're done. I mean, basically, we had the right guys sit the match, the next match, and these guys have no. They originally went to Mario and Dave DiTilio. They referred it to us. My opinion is, you look at it, this is complaining about someone being unfair to them, and that just doesn't make it. You can't.
Under 11s, come on.
Yeah. So let's just we're done with that one. And we did get to them and explain to them that you can't be, you got to be able to take a little bit here, because when you go out around and play, you're going to hear some terrible things, and you're going to see not FIFA, UEFA, FIFA quality referees out there occasionally. So you got to be able to stand that, because the game's more important than that. No, I think the language is, they swear they never called him a fat ass or an asshole or any of that stuff. Doesn't matter. I mean, in no uncertain terms that they get the message from us that they shouldn't be doing this if this is how they're going to respond. Do something else. And they were reasonably contrite at that point. So this is all a tempest in a teapot, and we took care of it.
258.
2558.
Okay, this was the one where the coach sent a text message request that they are requesting. This is Lee County Strikers, U14 boys, and that they've had trouble with a particular referee, Philip Kahusak, and that they're just asking that he not be assigned to any of their games. Do we honor that? Do we ignore that?
No,
Absolutely not.
Okay.
We can't.
no.
Now, you can pass that along to his, to the signer and say, if there's any way possible, maybe there's a problem with these people, but they can't. We have enough problem just getting enough refs.
Coaches can't control the league.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't, they can start, when they can start dictating which refs they want and which they don't want, we don't have a league anymore.
Well, and interestingly, fast forward, but this is, and I don't think everyone has seen this letter, but this is the same coach that's asking about the tiebreaker, that long letter that he wrote yesterday, Paul.
Yeah, I didn't, but explain that to me. I didn't understand that. You said I don't either. when we emailed. He's saying that FIFA. Now I wrote him back. Do you know that?
No, I didn't see that you
Okay.
responded.
I'm sorry. I wrote him a long email back that, hey, this is in our bylaws. So this is the way the tiebreaker works. I don't care what FIFA does or the rest of the world does or anything else. We can review what we do, but it is what it is, and it's very clear in our bylaws what the tiebreakers are. So that's A. B,
Which I sent to him previously.
yeah. And B, he had a complaint about something of the type, and I said, unfortunately, you're going to run into some people out there that are just, the behavior is very, very uncivilized, and it's something we're trying to work on, but we can't do anything about it. And then I don't know the last thing, but I mean, I answered him, he came back to me, and I came back to him, and it was about the distance. What he's saying is he thinks he wants to be in the first division next year because his kids deserve to be able to play at home. And I said, they do deserve to play at home. Unfortunately, the bylaws are such that we don't play any home games in 5. Now, we disregarded those bylaws for about 3 or 4 years in every division. Now we disregard those bylaws, and we need to change them and probably get more refined. We disregard them in the first division only because, unfortunately, Lee County is a wonderful place to live, and there's a lot of wonderful things about it that you probably, can tell me about. One of them isn't regionally organized youth sports because of the thinness of the population. It's not as good, nor is it good in Gainesville, nor it is good in, in the Panhandle. And I can't do anything about that. I can't do anything about where you live. We've been through that. Our members make up the votes in this, and that's what the members have wanted for years. So that was the end of that.
Okay.
1701.
Good.
I think we might have already addressed this. Let me make sure which one it is. Let's see. This was, oh, yeah, this is the TBU thing, Greg, that you took care of about the ref fees. That's all that was.
Right.
And we already talked about it.
He's going to take care of Burke.
Yeah.
1383.
Okay, 1 second. I'm pulling it up. All right. This one. Let's see.
Ditto. It's 11.
Okay, this was a U10 boys game, and they notified us a little bit ahead of time that both teams agreed that they weren't going to play because they didn't have enough players. And so, again, the question was, if they both agreed to not play, is it a forfeit? It's U10, so we don't have to worry about the ref fees and stuff. And then should they be assessed a fine?
Somebody other than me.
And actually, I think they decided that they don't even want to play the game at all. And is that okay?
I would say that. Me?
Yeah, U10s, we don't keep the records, do we?
No. The record
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And if two teams don't want to play each other, I don't know why we're bothering to force them to do it.
Right, right.
Why are they coming to us in the first place then? They can pick.
Well, I mean, but as long as they're not doing it to someone that does want to play, Greg, what's the difference, right?
Right.
Well, you know, why get all hot and bothered and start finding people when they agree not to play? You know, if everyone did that, it'd be much simpler. We wouldn't have any complaints.
Well, I want you to make notes of that when they complain next year when we find them when they go to under 11s.
Well, if they both didn't show up at 11s, even then, Greg, you'd have to wonder, why we're finding somebody.
Right. Anyway, all right.
I mean, we fine them as a punitive measure because they didn't show up because the other team was there and wanted to play. 986. And we don't have that many of them either. I mean, these things, if we got 5 of them a season, it's a lot out of 3,000 games.
Yeah.
986.
Tonight than we've done the whole senior season.
This is incredible. We have 11 of these things.
I know.
Well, this was like Friday night. Oh my God. I think I was till 2 a.m. with people like at the last minute canceling. It was ridiculous. What if I wasn't looking at my computer? But anyway.
But that's something we need to think about because there's got to be some reasonable limit to what they can expect.
I know. That's what I was thinking. But yet if I hadn't, like a lot of people would have driven for no reason, You know
what, Sharon, though, that's almost what you call benign neglect.
Yeah.
Because you can't assume that the night before at 2 a.m. This thing with canceled games we know is a problem anyway, correct?
Yeah.
Because it's rolling so much that we're not contemporaneously getting in touch with people. They've left for the fields and the fields are closed. And we found out 10 minutes left. That happens all the time to us in these rainouts. And I don't know if anybody's got a better system or
Well, and I mean, truly, then like
some of you guys that are smarter,
I mean, that did happen Sunday morning. The guy, like, I checked my email at midnight Saturday night. I was caught up. Everybody was notified of the closures. Apparently, Sunday morning at 7 a.m., a team sent a closure, and I didn't see it. I had something to do Sunday morning.
I don't know. We can't put it in the bylaws, but we should have a focal way saying, listen, after 9 o'clock at night and before 9 in the morning, you can't expect there'll be any communication with anybody at USA.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just felt bad because that one did get missed. That's the only one I missed. But I'm like, it was 7 o'clock.
But that's going to happen to some people, and it's terrible. They're going to drive up there and the fields are closed. But me, I never went anywhere where the weather was inclement where I didn't get in touch with the other guy or try to.
Right.
I wasn't able to. But most cases, I was talking to them saying, you're going to play, you're going to be there, the field's open.
What's number 986? What's that?
Okay. 986. This is the one, Greg, that you took care of about the complaint by, who was it? Winter Haven, I think. Wait a minute.
Northport.
Let's see. Pinellas against Northport, correct. And how he was saying about they added players, and I don't know, you took care of it, so I was going to let you report on that.
Yeah. Basically what happened was, I guess these teams played previously, and the coach at Northport noticed almost a whole new team on the game card. And he said there was 3 players added or 4 players added and 4 taken away or whatever. And what I tried to explain to him was that this was a couple days prior to Region Cup roster freeze was just a couple days ago, if I'm not mistaken, or last week sometime. And, some teams at the beginning of the year straighten out their lineups so that they've been swapping players back and forth, and now they're getting ready for Region Cup. So I said, that's not really that much of an issue. We did have a problem with the fact that one of the girls came out with a number 41, and then at halftime changed jerseys to number 14. And I kind of asked him, I said, if you take a look at the game card, 4 of the players on West Florida or Palace, whoever it was, had number 6s. 3 of them had number 8s, and 2 of them had number 41. All the jerseys were all scrambled up all over the place. So, he's okay. I mean, it was just a matter of he was just beside himself, thinking that they just put a whole new team out against him, and he didn't think it was fair. So he's okay.
But we did find they were all legally rostered, and the ref was aware of the changes of the roster. So.
He wrote it on the game card. The game card he has that was signed by both of the coaches.
Yeah.
Shows everything that. And
the guy didn't have a basis. He thinks for some reason if it's a conspiracy if there's new kids. You tell him it happens all the time. As long as the roster's legally correct, it's fine by us. They can have a whole new team.
Right.
So there's nothing we do there. How about 456?
I think this is resolved actually. This was the Plant City issue on Friday night that Jim Vars, there was a miscommunication and a ref didn't get assigned to the double booked game, and we canceled the game because we knew there wasn't going to be a ref. But since that time, I think both teams are trying to reschedule.
Okay. And what confused me about that, Sherry, was that when they say it was double booked, in other words, Jim was not going to send the referee because there was a game already on the field he was supposed to assign. Am I correct? Is that why he didn't send the ref?
What he explained, he said, when I was first doing the assignments, I noticed there were 2 games at the same time on the same field. Yeah. I assigned both games, waiting for Plant City to notice the mistake and change one of the games. On Tuesday, the referee I assigned canceled, and I decided to wait for them to change one of the games before I reassigned. On Thursday, finally Plant City realized that there was 2 games on the field, and basically Jim was just waiting for them to do something about it. And then when they finally noticed it, it was Friday night. And the way they wrote the email to me, I thought Jim knew about all this, and they were just asking me to move it to the other field. So when I did that, then he got upset that it was, Friday night, and now he had to find a ref kind of thing. But he really knew about it since Tuesday. I think it just, the whole thing, the ball got dropped somewhere. And
he said, I got an email from him apologizing for the mix-up.
Yeah. So I think after he got over that, he apologized.
They're just going to reschedule, so we have nothing to do, really. Right?
Yeah, I think it's resolved now. It's just everybody gets a little bit jumpy.
But it wasn't either team's fault as to them not showing, so there's no forfeit or fine involved.
No, yeah, and I think they're trying to work out a reschedule, and the Hernando coach was incredibly nice about it. I called him I made sure I called him that morning so he didn't start driving. And he's like, yeah, stuff happens, no problem. And I think they're working out a reschedule.
So that really was for Jim not assigning a referee. Because if he had, they would have moved the game.
Right.
When everybody showed up, right?
Right. I mean, I think everyone thought that there was refs assigned. And when they contacted me, it was like, can you just put it on the other field? That's what I did.
Yeah, and Merritt, if he had assigned a ref just it was field 2 and field 3, the ref would have said, the game's over here. So we would have been okay. But when he looks at it, I think and correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry, when they look at it, he's got 2 games on the same field. He's got to make a decision whether I'm gonna send 2 refs on the same field, because he doesn't know if there's another field available or what they're going to do about it, which is what he was saying. He's waiting for them to say, hey, wow, we'll just go to field 3, Jim, thanks. But they never did.
He gave them credit for thinking they would find it. That was the problem.
Yeah.
But in point of fact, you don't send a ref out there if you got hoping that someone's going to figure it out and change fields on the fly because they might not be able to.
Yeah, I think though what happened was like when he had 2 refs assigned, then one of his refs backed out.
Right, so he figured
I
out.
know, so we just didn't reassign somebody.
Yeah, he didn't reassign him, and then I think he forgot about it. I think this is what happened. And
Yeah,
then,
that's exactly what happened.
yeah. And then that's why when I sent it to him Friday night, like, hey, tell him it's moved to this field. That's why he got upset, I think, because he realized he had forgotten. And he got a little bit, jumpy about it, and, whatever. But then he apologized, so it's not a big deal.
Better keep that letter of apology from Jim. That might be the last one you ever see.
Yeah.
But Jim, and all the time you're doing this, if he makes 2 mistakes every 5 years.
It happens. It's
Yeah.
so many games to keep track of.
All right, that's, I think, the last game. Is someone want to extend this further?
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Yes.
The email I sent today. So this weekend, I feel like we're going to get some calls. So am I correct in thinking there are no club pass players available or be able to use? No guest players, no secondary players, no write-in players for games this weekend, correct?
I don't know that that's correct.
Okay, that's what I want to know because I think everybody's figured out I'm the new guy, so I get the calls on Saturday.
Well, let's just pretend this roster freeze. So the rosters are frozen, but does that say that a kid can't club pass over and play?
You don't have club pass players, I thought.
Why? Because they can't move, they can't guest?
We don't have club pass players. That rule got pulled, remember?
No, you can only, in the club pass player, you can have them. They just can't play 2 matches in one day.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? But
Okay.
that
So
roster
you have
freeze.
club pass players, but only 3, right?
Yeah, I mean, the same rules, because we're not, USA is, and correct me if I'm wrong, and probably nobody knows the answer to this. We're not under any roster freeze or anything else. It just makes that they can't move players around and re-roster them because FYSA has locked the rosters down.
Right.
But that doesn't say they can't add club pass players. Maybe they can't. I don't know that. But I don't know that we're not under, USA has not said the rosters are all frozen. You can't do anything. It's FYSA. You can't, I don't think you can get into the rosters if you try and add some people to a roster, you won't be able to. So it won't come up on the game card. Am I correct, Sherry?
No, I think you can. You can add secondary players right now. You can't add club pass players because there's no such thing.
Well, what would you consider a secondary player?
Somebody from a different roster.
And somebody asked me a question. I didn't answer because I didn't know the answer. Was there a limit on the number of secondary players he could add?
I think it's always been 3.
3? Okay. I didn't know, so I didn't answer the question.
Well, when you said, Mark, let's go back to that. The secondary players, they would have to move them from one roster to another. They can't.
Which I agree. I agree.
It's not that we're not allowing it, though. It's that they can't do it.
No, you can physically. Physically, you can move them in GOT Soccer.
You can.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
true.
And I'm being a little selfish because I have 11 players for a game this weekend.
Well, so what's
another rule?
But what's wrong? In other words, we haven't locked the rule. We're not gonna forfeit a match or anything else if people have the same rules. If they're gonna be under the same rules they have all year, and they can physically move. I didn't think you could add anybody to a roster or move them.
Only as a secondary player you can. There's no club pass players, obviously.
Well, why not?
Because I don't think that exists in the system anymore, does it?
Yeah. The only thing with club pass players that was disallowed was playing. You can't play more than if a kid isn't playing with their regular team, right?
Okay.
Regular team's not playing. I can play. I can club pass where I'm legal now. I can club pass anywhere. What we were restricted from is playing with more than one team with their primary team, and then club pass playing with another team in the same day.
So they can choose not to play with their primary team and still play with another team.
That's correct. The only limitation that whole brouhaha that we ended up with was they could not play two matches in a day. Now, Frank says that's going to happen across the board next year or the year after. They're not going to let anybody play two matches in a day, no matter what, even if you switch the roster.
Okay. So, but there still are no write-in players, correct?
Well, no, I guess they got to add them now, but I'm not very good at this, Mark. So this is what we probably should check, and nobody knows. I don't know that you can pull them off and add them to a game card. See, that's the stuff I really don't know that. And I don't know that anybody knows. Greg, you got any answers for that? We should try it.
You can do it. You can move them. You can move players right now.
Okay, so you can go into Got Soccer, take kids off, and they'll show up on your game card.
You can add them as a secondary player. You can't move them from the roster, but you can add them as a secondary player.
So what's wrong with that?
Can you do that if they're
No, I'm just clarifying it because I just want to make sure on Saturday when we get all those calls that it's that.
Yeah, well, what I don't understand, Mark, is that how you can add them, if the roster is frozen, how they get added to the team. You're saying if you add them as a secondary player, the roster will accept them?
Because there's still a primary player on the frozen roster team.
That wouldn't make a difference.
I don't see how.
Frozen rosters are frozen.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That's what I assumed was the whole point of freezing the roster is in FYSA you can't go in and move them. Now, if they're not playing in Region Cup or something like that, that may be another point. I don't know.
So then I guess the answer is there are no secondary players, there are no club pass players. Because all rosters are frozen for that, unless you pull a player from State Cup teams which aren't frozen yet.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. So, but our league, we have no rules about freezing rosters for our games.
Right. So the only players who would be available to pull from this weekend would be
whoever they can possibly get.
From State Cup players.
Why I say roster, right? If they're on that game card for us, they're good.
Okay.
Right? Because and we'll, if that happens, we'll have to support that because, as far as I know, in our league rules, there is no. There were rules against 3 club pass players as maximum or secondary players.
Right.
But aside from that, we don't say we're freezing a roster. You can't change it. You can't add players or subtract them. It's only Region Cup that's done for. Now, I assumed FYSA, when they froze those rosters, that you could not get a kid off a roster onto another one.
No, you can't.
Yeah, see, that's what Mark and Mark thinks you might be able to. I was under the assumption, Mark, once they got frozen, you couldn't get them off one or get them on one.
If you adjust your roster, you're at the limit. You could get disqualified. Also, I would email Dave DiTilio or somebody at FYSA.
But see, for a USA game, Alan, what we're saying is we're not investigating anybody that's got a club pass players. We're not asking if they're frozen or not frozen. We don't have rules against it. It's a USA game.
But if you're in Region C and you manipulate your roster, you could be disqualified out of Region C.
Right, but I'm just thinking of the phone calls on Saturday and someone shows up with 3 guest players.
Oh, it's crazy. Oh, I understand. I know what you're saying. It is. It's crazy. Yeah.
But Alan, the thing is, they would be eliminated or they'd be kicked out of the Region Cup.
But we don't care about that, right?
That's not what we're not in the Region Cup.
No. I understand that. If you're not in Region C, then you don't have nothing to worry about. Your
roster. I didn't think you'd be able to even move them.
You can't.
Once those rosters got frozen.
No.
And see, Mark, that's what I think too. In other words, or try it. We should try it ourselves.
Well, no, what I think is going to happen is that you can bring State Cup players over because they're not frozen.
If they're in the same division.
I'm sorry?
Oh, right. You might have the same division. They might be playing down or something. Then
you can't play. You can't play. If you're a D1 team and you're D2, you can't bring a State Cup player down to D2.
Well, there's no rules in USA anymore about Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3.
Yes, there is.
There is.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Yes. You can't bring a D1 player.
You can't bring a kid from D1 to D2.
No.
you can't do that. We still, in our bylaws, and you look at them, they're still.
Okay, so those rules are still there. You cannot bring D1 and D2 and D3.
And
Okay.
they're on the website. I mean, and it's really, you go into that section, Mark, it's not, there's only, a page and a half or a page to read. And you can see all the permutations. My point is, USA doesn't say we got a roster freeze. FYSA says there is, but that's for the state cup event.
Right.
For us, if a kid shows up on a roster in a game card and they can print it out and the kid isn't from D1 going to D2, in other words, if he's legitimate, I don't see, maybe the team, there might be teams not going to, now are they freezing everybody's, that's another question, I don't know. Do they freeze everybody's roster? What if they're going to Region Cup or State Cup? Does my roster get frozen? I don't know.
Only the teams that are in Region C or State Cup.
Okay, so in other words, there could be a club that the Division D3 team is not going to either one because they couldn't get enough kids to kick up the money or whatever.
Right.
So they guess them over to the D2 guy, club pass them. They're fine as far as I'm concerned.
And you only play one game. Okay.
They can only play one game. The club pass was really a limitation on the amount of games per day a kid could play.
But our rules remain the same as no D1 can play D2, no D2.
Yes, that's correct. If you look,
okay.
And we got the bylaws. You go down there, it's still in there, and it's pretty.
Okay, great.
It's
I just wanted to make sure because.
I agree.
Like I said, they figured out I'm the new guy, so they call me all the time on Saturday. Okay.
Not just unless it's Messi or somebody, it hardly makes a difference. But our rules still don't want them doing that.
Okay, great.
All right.
And I'm sorry, I have one more thing that came up today that I didn't have on the agenda, but it's an easy one, I think.
Thank God.
Two U19 teams are playing in Region Cup on the 28th.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Lee County versus Pinellas. They're asking if that can count as their season game as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I thought so, but I told her I would ask.
That reminds me, Greg, is everyone aware that we've got a lot of games scheduled on the Region Cup days? Not a lot. We have games scheduled, and we're kind of looking into if we can cover all of them with refs. VARS was the one that said to me, we might have some problems covering some games. So Sherry and Greg are looking into it now. Have sent, there's 40 matches. Now, some of the matches, which I don't understand, and I don't know if it's any of your clubs, there appear to be matches between two people who are playing Region Cup that day in USA. Now, if that's a fact, it's very unusual. It's something they either didn't look at or, downright stupid. But next year, we've got to take a look at those dates because it's getting harder and harder to cover the refs for those matches. Now, Sherry, you said there is a way to look in and see what refs are already assigned, so we'll know if we've got any difficulty. And if we do, we'll work on it. My thing was for the board, for you guys, is if we cannot find a center for a game, we go to the clubs and ask them if they can find a center is a certified and everything else. If they can't, that we allow a reschedule. Because it's our problem, USA, it's the assignment. You guys agree? I mean, that's the only way I think we can handle it, right? Anybody? I mean, it's the 20th and 27th. It's going to be stressed to get refs. We have senior games rescheduled for that weekend, and we're checking into them now to make sure they got refs, that our assigners have got refs for those matches, and where they don't, we'll take the next two steps. We'll try and get the clubs to cover it, or we'll allow them to reschedule. That's all I can think of. We're going to have to be more aware of those dates when people start to reschedule, Sherry, to say, hey, do you realize it's, Region Cup's being played that day?
Well, could could we do next year have like blackout dates?
Yeah, that's
I
good.
think
Yeah, yeah.
we did. But then
Yeah.
people, we didn't schedule on those dates, but then people,
No, but that's what I'm saying. When they schedule, we still gotta handle that.
yeah. I see what you're saying. So
Yeah,
like-
so what Alan's saying, I think that's a good idea. You say you can't reschedule that day, it's blackout.
Blackout
Right.
dates.
Now, we'll see what the problem is this year. We'll see what the extent of it is. I mean,
I mean, when I looked,
you
they
didn't
all
do-
had refs, not all, but 90% of them had refs assigned, but maybe they're going to take them off and put them somewhere else. I don't know, but
Well, we'll see if that happens, but at
Yeah.
least they're scheduled at this point. And we did ask, I think, Greg, you were getting something together to go back to our signers and double check with them.
You got the email today.
Yeah.
yeah, he did.
I
I
said,
mean, I think that's all we can do, right? You guys got any other ideas? Go do it. I think we've checked and rechecked, so. All right, somebody want to abandon the meeting now, so we can go home?
let's
Anybody, Alan, please.
I
make
say
a
yes.
motion.
There's one.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hey, I try to make this one faster. I don't know what happened. It got away from us. It was good on the first one, Merritt.
11 games we had to go
I
through.
know. But we can get faster. We'll get faster at that, too.
It's fine. All right, guys.
All right. Take care.
Cool.
all righty.
Thanks, Greg.
No
Excellent.
problem.
Sherry, thanks, girl.
Yep, no problem. Talk to you.
Now I got to figure out now how to reload this up to the website again.
YouTube, remember?
Oh, YouTube. That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
and it worked. So, I mean, it looks good. So,
Yeah.
all right, I'm out. See ya.
All right. We'll see you guys.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.